Yeah, g'day, kia ora, Pastor Carl Bromley here in the south, become a bit of the political pastor. And in this video I want to talk about how I believe that passive, weak Kiwi culture in positions of politics and governance is causing us to lose the fight for our nation. I say to a lot of people that when you describe Kiwi culture in terms of in the face of an aggressor, New Zealanders are often like this. When they are punched in the nose by a perpetrator or an aggressor, Kiwis, many, not all, but a lot predominantly, will actually apologise for the blood on the person's fist that came from their nose. They get punched in the nose, and a Kiwi will go, "Oh, I'm so sorry for getting the blood out of my nose that you've just broken on your fist when you assaulted me." There's a real issue with underlying passive weakness in our culture of New Zealand that is causing us to lose the fight for our nation. Now, I've been pondering this because recently on Facebook, there was a dialogue and discussion that led into some ad hominem against me and some people in their sincere disposition wanting to defend the weakness and the statement of New Zealand First Leader Winston Peters when he said, quote unquote, that what happened to Charlie Kirk was not political violence but assassination. Now, I honed in on that statement because an alarm bell rang. First of all, the statement on the surface was completely ridiculous if you would take it logically, because obviously assassination is very violent, and if it's motivated politically, then it is political violence. Now, people in the New Zealand First Party, great advocates of Winston Peters, basically retorted me. Rebuke might be a fair term, actually, and defended it, saying that Winston Peters was saying, "Oh no, it's worse than political violence." He was trying to make it they defended it by saying that no, he's trying to say it was worse than that. And I got called a dog with a bone and accused of splitting hairs. I'm not a dog with a bone. I am a man on a mission. And so that was interesting because it reflects something about the innate weakness of our Kiwi culture and politics that is destroying our country and causing us to lose the fight, even because we have people like this in political parties and the general ethos of our Kiwi culture that doesn't want to rock the boat, doesn't want to shake the tree, wants to keep everything all comfy. And you would have heard statements like, "We've got to bring the temperature down. We've got to come together." Criticism about being outraged. There's this innate fear, and I'm going to say this, and I don't mean to be offensive, and I hope I'm not being offensive, and you might be offended what I'm saying, but it feels a lot like a real maternal thing. A real fearful anxiety that is often associated more with the feminine nature than the masculine. And I think this is reflected in our politics. And so when you're in a family situation, you often have traditionally the dad who's, not all the time, but often the disciplinarian, the one who plays in roughs and tumbles and more of the risk taker with the kids. It's natural by design. And then you have the mum who, in her beautiful role, is more nurturative and perhaps balances out and says, "Oh, be careful, dear. you're getting a bit rough here. And so you have this balance. But in New Zealand, it seems like that maternal nurturing side has started to dominate our nation as a culture, maybe through feminism. And part of that, perhaps, as we think about it, has resulted in this weakness and this passivity, even in conservative circles, when a need for righteous anger is there, when there's a need and a calling for justified outrage is there. So people like me get criticized when I get passionate and I call issues out with people in our government like Winston Peters, who made this quote published, written on a couple of platforms, and I see in it pathology and an issue. And to reiterate, I'll say it again. When you say that what happened to Charlie Kirk and his assassination murder was not political violence, but assassination, if you have some insight and you think about it, that statement clearly wants to send a message to deflect and minimize the political element of what happened to Charlie Kirk. It's a purposeful political statement to distance and create distance between his assassination and political association. Why? I've thought about it. Why? Why would you want to create distance and separation between what happened to Charlie Kirk being political violence or just an assassination that could be for many other different reasons than political reasons? Again, it comes to this pathological Kiwi ethos, I believe, of fear and anxiety that there might be outrage, there might be anger, there might be retaliation and responses. And because Kiwis are so passive, we want to dampen things down. We want to turn the temperature down. Now, let me tell you something. That is a big problem of our nation. And conservatives in this nation, they've become wet, they've become weak, insipid and ineffective, and that's why the violent radicals on the left have dominated, taken over, and are destroying our nation. Because conservatives don't know when they've been punched in the nose, when they've been assaulted, insulted and abused, and they apologize for their face getting in the way of someone else's fist. And that's the problem that's destroying our nation. And our nation is going to continue to be destroyed if that's the attitude. Now, let me say this. There is a time for outrage. There is a time for righteous anger and indignation. It's not a sin. It's a God-given empowerment. It's a natural emotion. You see, in New Zealand, there's also this pathological idea that anger is bad. Anger is sin. No, it's not. God has given us the emotion of anger to motivate us into action, to challenge, to protect, to confront evil. The Bible says twice, be angry. Yep. Be angry and sin not. Twice the scripture says be angry, and it qualifies it with sin not. It is not wrong to be outraged at unrighteousness, at injustice, at political murder and assassination. It's right to be. In fact, it's wrong. It's disgustingly immoral. In instances of complete evil, that you would not be outraged, that you would not be moved, that you would not be touched, and horrifically, you would even work to continue endorsing and enabling such violence by saying, calm it down, Bromley. Yeah, I heard someone say, calm down, take a breather. How dare you? How dare you tell people like me and others to calm down, to turn the temperature down, just because you feel uncomfortable with someone being passionate who actually wants to do something to save our nation. It's people who are so frightened and scared with a bit of passion and emotion who want to do the Kiwi thing of calming the farm, turn the temperature. You are the one, and people like you, who are part of the problem, and a big part of the problem of our nation. Why we're being dominated by radical leftists who are only too willing to enact violence and terrorism. While you sit back there comfortably, not you, I'm speaking in general, right? This kind of pathology in our nation politically is continuing to endorse and leaves our nation in a position where we will have our own Charlie Kirk experiences and our own Donald Trump experiences of assassination. We're already seeing the violence already. I've experienced it. And I can tell you stories and stories about it. But I'll just give you one. I remember in the Justice Precinct in Christchurch being assaulted by a leftist liberal who was waving their gay flag over my head and elbowed me in the back of the head in front of at least 4 or 5 police officers staring on within about 5 meters of me. And they did nothing. I even verbally appealed to them and said, this guy just assaulted me. And they just looked at me with their masks on. They just looked at me. You see, when the radical left commits violence in this nation, the way our nation has been socially engineered, the authorities ignore it. And then I said, as an experiment, right, I'm going to go over there and slap that guy up the head who just elbowed me in the head with his gay flag. You know what happened? One policewoman came straight over and a couple others got right around me and stopped me going over there. I had no intention of assaulting the guy. I just wanted to see how the police would react when the man who was assaulted, who they ignored and would not enact the law on my behalf for being assaulted, how they would react when I said I was going to go and slap that leftist upside the head. Then they were all over me. And this is a reflection of where our nation has got. You see, we enable the left in the aggressive violence, and statistics have just come out in the US to show that there is an incredible statistical violence that leans towards the left when it comes to the willingness to justify and believing in political violence compared to the right or conservatives. A major difference in the demographic. And it's being enabled. And this nation, if we don't change things up and understand this and get this, we're in trouble. Now, the problem is we have what I call, and I'm trying to do my videos with more respect, okay, or try not to be so offensive because I lose a lot of friends. And I get ticked off when those people who are supposed to be on my team as allies don't defend their arguments and then just start attacking me ad hominem. Then need to be in a position to, I just unfriend and unfollow them. Okay, but what the problem is, we have what I call enabling this kind of culture in high-profile positions, in political parties, maybe local bodies, in elite freedom movement groups and special freedom profiles of that, who are too weak, and I've got to say cowardice as absorbing part of the Kiwi ethos of cowardice and weakness of conservatives to actually recognize that the pouring water on people's passion in the face of evil and unrighteousness is part of the problem. And so we have people in these special profiles socially, social media in New Zealand, in political parties in New Zealand that are supposed to be conservative, And they are so scared and so afraid of shaking the tree or upsetting the apple cart, of the expression of passion and righteous anger and outrage, that they want to turn the temperature down. They will even attack people like me, who are calling things as they are, rightfully so. With the example of me saying that Winston Peters was out of line for calling the assassination of Charlie Kirk not political violence. Okay? The reason why they want to separate it from being called political violence is because they're worried about outrage and righteous anger and indignation. Okay? But folks, anger, indignation, righteous outrage is something that fuels motivation. And anger, outrage, and righteous indignation doesn't equal violence. I don't believe in calling for violence. Okay? We don't want violence. But anger and righteous indignation can motivate you into doing constructive, legal, political behaviors and functions to challenge the evil and the unrighteousness in our nation. It doesn't, okay? So anyway, if I was wrong about Charlie Kirk's assassination being political violence, then I'm wrong with Kash Patel, the head of the FBI in the United States, who calls it political violence and a political assassination. Then I'm also wrong with J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, who's calling it political violence and assassination. I'm also wrong with Donald Trump, the President of the United States, who calls it political violence, assassination, and almost every other Republican in the United States, and probably the majority of Democrats even in the United States, who called Charlie Kirk's assassination political violence. Because in America, God bless them, they're not afraid of passion. They're not afraid of calling things what they are. They're not afraid to rock the boat and shake the tree and upset the apple cart and to face and confront evil. It's been amazing to see in the United States, for example, this playing out with apparently quoted tens of thousands of people losing their jobs because of their disgusting, vile, mocking, scoffing and celebrating of Charlie Kirk's death. Tens of thousands of people losing their jobs. That wouldn't happen in New Zealand. Oh, no. Because we turn the temperature down. We say we've got to all come together. That's exactly the way the radical left operates. They commit these vile offences, the social terrorism, violence, shed the blood, assault, terrorise, defame, slander, and then they call for turning the heat down, turning the temperature down. That's the way they work. And if you think you're a conservative and that's the rhetoric you're using to turn the temperature down because you don't want outrage, you're endorsing the left. And you are continuing with the problem that is causing us to lose the battle and fight for our nation. And sadly, this ethos of Kiwi culture is with what I call, and I've come to call it this, out of frustration, the no better, no betters. And I'm referring to those who think they're conservative, who've got these positions of local government and central government involved in political parties in New Zealand, who look at me saying, calm the farm, turn it down. They think they're so smart. They think they're so wise. And yet, with all due respect, because of the Kiwi ethos of passivity, are completely ignorant, and they don't realise they're not helping at all with this kind of nonsense. We need to be outraged. We need to be righteously angry and indignant in the face of evil, in the face of unrighteousness that's destroying our nation, and we need to allow that outrage and anger and indignation to motivate us and to keep us motivated to stand strong, to act boldly and courageous, legally, without violence, in addressing these issues in our nation. Right. I think that's all I've got to say in this video. But I wanted to make this video because as you watch things in the United States and you listen to the officials and the government there, the media there, conservatives, and even a lot on the left, on the moderate left, calling what happened to Charlie Kirk what it is, political violence in the form of assassination, while meanwhile in New Zealand, people are saying, oh, no, we've got to deflect, we've got to separate the issue from politics. It's night and day. And the difference between the United States and here, that I've just explained and described, is why we are in big, fat, hairy trouble. You see, the political conservative right here, they don't want people like me to be on board. They don't want me to get involved in local government or central government. They keep me at arm's length. And I've experienced that. The local people, local government here, they don't want to get behind me and people like me. Political parties in New Zealand, like New Zealand First and blah, 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 they don't want me. The special folks with special freedom movement profiles in New Zealand on the internet, these special, they don't want to be too close to people like me. And I believe the bottom line of it is because they're bought into this pathological cultural ethos, don't rock the boat, turn the temperature down. They're scared. They're afraid of passion. They're afraid of indignance and anger and righteous anger, thinking in their minds that equates to violence. No, it doesn't. We've got some problems in our nation. It's sick. And we have a problem. I wanted to write a book. I still may do it, probably won't. But if I had a book to write on our culture, I'd call it The Pathological Kiwi. The Pathological Kiwi. There's a number of pathological issues in our culture. And this is one of them that's causing problems in our nation. We've got to get past this nurturative, overly maternal idea that passion and emotion, anger is wrong. It's not wrong. It's what you do that counts. And you can use it for the right reasons in the right way to be a driving force to challenge the evil, the wicked, the radical left in our nation, to try to truly win back our nation. I don't know if I've described it well, got my message across in this video. Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Tell me if you think I'm right or wrong. But do so respectfully, because I'm over these people that I love and have supported and been around who have risen to these positions, perhaps in their minds and the minds of those who think they're extra special, the no-betters. They're no better than anyone else, but they think they know better than everyone else. And yet, because of perhaps pride or a lack of personal insight, a lack of personal understanding of what they are bought into in terms of our culture, end up not helping and actually endorsing a pathway and a trajectory of our nation that's going to result in us losing our nation. And one of the issues is they have a problem with passion and anger and righteous indignation over issues when they shouldn't. Anyway, okay, that's enough for me. Thanks for watching. Good to see you, Bill. Appreciate you. And if you like the video, folks, share it and let me know what you think. God bless you, mate wa. Bye for now. Be passionate. Be indignant for the right reasons. Sin not, but you use it to motivate, to be motivated to make a difference and to challenge the issues that are destroying our nation, like the far radical left. God bless you. Bye for now. See ya.